Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to take a first look, or an inside look, at a reel that I recently serviced. So it doesn't need a service, but it doesn't hurt to show you the reel anyway. I wasn't thinking when I was servicing of doing the video, and then I just had a spare moment here, so I thought maybe we would take a look at this one. So this is the Abu Revo Premier. It's an 11 ball bearing reel. I'm not sure where it's made. I always get a little bit anxious when I read something that says Swedish engineered. There was a lot of terms for that in the past, kind of like code words for we don't make it in Sweden. But it is Swedish engineered. This is a lefty. It's the Revo Premier RV03 Premier L for lefty, and nice reel over it all. It actually came in with a problem with the cap here. There's some misalignment there in the spool tensioner. That got repaired, but I thought I would take it apart, show you the reel, and if you're thinking about buying one of these, you'll have a better understanding of how the reel comes together. If you need a repair, I'll take it off inside and I'll show you how to take the case apart so that you could go ahead and do that repair, and we'll see where this video takes us. So I'm going to start. It says 11 ball bearings. I'm going to guess 2 of them are in the handle here. I don't have the schematic on this reel. Again, this is more show and tell than it is go fix anything at the moment, but there are a lot of folks that are interested in reels like these. So let's kind of show you what we got. So I'm going to start by taking the handle cap off. That nut cap is held on by a retaining screw. I keep a little bottom of a milk jug here as my parts tray. There's a little clip that that retaining screw is holding on, and then we have a cap nut for the handle. Now I just started turning traditionally counterclockwise. It wasn't working. There was resistance. You need to pay attention to that. Some of these handle nuts do go on reverse. So this one comes off in a clockwise manner. So those of us who are raised on lefty loosey righty tighty, well, it doesn't work on this one. Alright, handle should be able to come off next. There's a little cap washer in that handle. Be aware of that as you're taking it off. And the handle can come off. And then this is a lefty reel, so I'm thinking I've got to go backwards in terms of how I would take the star adjuster off. There's a little click assembly underneath this handle. Just pay attention to how the pieces came out. There's 2 little shim washers, and then there's a little click assembly there. That little tongue that's sticking out is going to run on the ridges inside the cap. So I like to just kind of put them in the way that they're going to be assembled, which is that way. And then we have one more. We have a little ferrule here that rides on the bridge post. Alright, so that's this side. Then there's 2 screws that are going to hold the case on, and I believe there's one behind the spool here as well. And to get to there, you're going to have to remove the side plate over here. And for those of us that service the low profile reels, you know there's always a little bit of a trick in terms of how to get this side case off, because screws are not normally visible on that side case, at least the newer reels. So what you want to do is you have a screw here on this side. It's a thumb screw, and eventually it'll just kind of come out. And you can see it's spring loaded. You're not going to be able to remove the whole thing, but it's spring loaded. So pull back on the spring, then you should be able to turn the side plate just a little bit, and then you should be able to remove the side plate. This has a magnet in it, right? It's a magnetic. Has a bearing. So again, this reel was just serviced, but you would put oil on that bearing. Then you have your spool assembly. You want to take the spool assembly out, and then underneath that spool assembly you're going to see a little black screw hiding back here. So you would want to remove that screw as well to get the side plate off. So I'm going to go do that. It requires a micro screwdriver to get there. And I recommend, even if you're just doing show and tell like this one, or if you're servicing a reel, I recommend that you take pictures along the way. Of course, I'm taking pictures with the video right here, but I recommend that you take the pictures so that if you get lost along the way, For example, if you don't remember where the screw went, or if you're looking for the screw in your parts tray after you've put the reel together and you realize, gee whiz, there's a screw laying in there, at least you can go back and find that. So, all right, so there's 2 screws left here. One of them is holding this bar on here. There's another one over here. We're not going to take this whole reel apart, but there's another one here and here. You have to remove the bar in order to remove the pawl assembly to service that. So just be aware of that. But right now that also does double duty. It holds the side case on. So I'm going to take the side case screw off of this. And then there's one below here. So there's 3 screws that are holding the side plate assembly together. We'll just take them out. You want to compare. There's 2 different screws. So that's why I generally will lay these on the table. The small screw is the one that came out of the pawl carrier. The thicker screw is the one that came out of the bottom. The black screw we already identified. That goes behind. I'll put those in my parts tray so I don't lose them. And now we should be able to remove this side plate. Oh, we got one more hiding here. So this one's an interesting one. This one actually has a little door where you can go and lubricate the main gear without, you'll see it pop up here. You can remove this and lubricate your gear without taking the side plate off if you have this reel. This is yet a 3rd different type of screw here, so we've got every screw is a different screw. 4 screws, 4 different screws. All right, with that then, the side plate does come off. This one is held on with a spring and a C-clip if you do need to replace that. Generally, I don't need to do that. You have a bearing back here, which you want to oil. Again, it's just been oiled. You have your anti-reverse clutch, which is here. It gets a little bit of oil. And then underneath here, you can see how big this main gear is relative to the small gear. So this is a high-speed reel. Not quite sure exactly what the speed is, but most of that is gear. The inside of this is actually the drag system. It looks like the drag system to the traditional ambassador type of reel. It's a smaller drag. It does not have the complete side out. But if you were to service the drags, you simply want to pull the reel off. You'll notice you got a click ratchet underneath here, and you have a washer that sits below that. You have your main, these are Carbon Tex drag washers. You have your main gear, and then you have a series of washers. The first one is a flat one. It's called a keyed washer. It's rectangular. The next one up then is another fabric, and then you have the eared washer. Has a round hole with the 2 tags that sit out. Then you have the fabric washer, and then you have the cap washer, which is also a keyed washer. Make sure that the bell on this goes to the outside. So that's your setup. And then you have a pinion gear and a yoke here. And when you're doing the servicing, and again, you can see there's fresh grease on this and everything, but you want to make sure you get grease onto the pinion gear and onto the main gear while you're doing that service. And then you can just close this up. So we're going to just take the case, put this back on. Again, this is more like show and tell than it is servicing the reel, but I wanted to give you an inside look at that so you know what it is that's going on here. Okay, we had a thin screw was going up top here. Again, this screw releases this side of that little nose, if you will, and then there's a screw on this side. You would have to take both of those off to take the cap off here for the pawl, and then you can put a drop of oil or service the cap from that. All right, we're just going to button this reel up. But this is a nice reel overall. It's fairly expensive. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I want to say it's over $200, maybe even $300. Well engineered. Again, I'm not sure what Swedish engineered means as opposed to made in Sweden. I have my guesses that the reel's probably Chinese made. This is an Abu reel. Abu is part of Pure Fishing, and Pure Fishing has moved a lot of their production, particularly Penn reels and Shakespeare reels and the like, to China. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is also manufactured over there, but we will see. All right, before we can put that spool in, then we have that little black long screw. See if I can get that in the case. I never had much luck with these small screws, as many of you who watch this know, but at least this one has an indentation where that screw can ride. Put that back in. Next up then is this little trap door. Again, you can service this reel by putting either grease or oil on that main gear, simply by removing this one screw. You don't have to take the whole side plate apart to do some internal lubrication there. There's a little ledge that this rides into. Don't worry, you're not going to drop it inside the reel. That would be fun if they didn't put that ledge there, but somebody thought about that. So not only do they give you a way to kind of put the grease in, but they give you a way to prevent it from going internal where you have to take the side plate off anyway. Oh, just push that out. So if you don't have micro screwdrivers and you intend on working on a lot of reels, I do suggest that you get them, particularly in reels like bait casters. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there, and that requires that. All right, again, we see another ball bearing on the spool here. So let's, we've already serviced this reel. Again, I don't want to say it too many times, but people are probably saying, why don't you oil that before you put it in? Well, the reel was recently serviced. You don't need to do that. These tag things, when folks are sending me reels with the line on them, kind of drives me nuts because you almost always trap the line inside the spool when you go to remount. Just be aware of that. Make sure these little brakes are down when you go to put the side plate on. Again, a bearing here that was oiled earlier. Find the upside to this, that's the label side. And then you just kind of reverse what we did earlier. It kind of comes in at just a small little uptick. Rotate it until it snaps in. Come back to this side to tighten up that bar. And again, the only thing that's different between this and the servicing is we just kind of put any greases in it, but for the most part this is exactly how you would do a servicing as well. That little ferrule goes on and goes into the roller clutch. Next up then is the three pieces that come behind us here. We have that click. Oh, hair from a brush that got picked up on my bench there. Let's get that click in. Then inside the click are these two tension washers that determine the variability of the star. The star comes on next, and it's a lefty reel, and that always amuses me because I always try to make it a righty reel, so I got to remember that it turns the opposite direction. And you got to hold the handle as you clear that little click. There you go. Okay, handle is next. And a little washer that sits on the handle. Again, this is a reverse thread, so you're going to go counterclockwise now when you go to put that cap on. Make sure that it's going on easily, and the best way to do that is to use hand tightening as opposed to a wrench. You don't want to cross strip these. Okay, we're good there. And we have the little cap, which I happen to get lucky and get right, and then the little screw. So this is it. This is the Abu Revo. Looks like the third generation. It says Revo 3 Premier. I'm going to guess that's pretty much the top of the line in terms of what these have. Premier, and it's an L for lefty. And the folks that like the lefties, there's a lot of folks out there, including myself, that like the lefty reel because when you cast with the reel, if you happen to be right-handed, you cast, and then you can just do the pickup. You don't have to worry about swapping the pole. If you were casting right, swapping the pole to your left hand to crank. So this one always is one that's that I appreciate more and more. So if you're a first responder, thank you for everything it is that you're doing. We do appreciate your efforts during this pandemic. I want to thank you personally for everything that you do and wish you to stay well. For those of us that are sitting on the sidelines, please stay well, stay healthy, and we will get through this together. So with that, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.